Yo, 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 welcome to Hard Pass. I am your host, Jacques Slade, and today I'm here at LAX instead of at my studio because my flight was delayed by 4 hours, but that doesn't stop the show. So today we've got LaMelo Ball's Pumas going back in time, Travis Hunter and Anthony Edwards forming the Adidas super team of the future, a Nintendo Switch 2 rant, the week's hottest releases, and of course, a Hard Pass. All right. Let's start the show with some hot takes. The Nike Kobe 8 Elite. Remember that variant that the late Kobe Bryant wore when he tore his Achilles, and it's going up for auction at Sotheby's. For those who don't remember, during a late season game against the Warriors in 2013, Mamba tore his Achilles with a few minutes left in the game. Despite barely being able to walk, he sank 2 free throws to tie the game before stepping out for not just the game and the remainder of the season, but really his prime era. Like, things were never the same after that injury, and now we're getting a reminder of the grit he showed in those moments. He could have just let someone else shoot the free throws and taken himself out of the game, but nah, that's not the Mamba mentality. If we're being honest here, that's the moment when it changed from a cute catchphrase to a full-blown way of life for athletes and fans. Of course, when co-writer was running the Kicks on Fire Twitter, he used it as an opportunity to troll people who were loud about erroneously blaming Adidas for Derrick Rose's injury a year prior, but were silent when the Nike guy goes down. Seriously, that guy, he has no chill at all. Anyway, he's like the Mamba mentality guy for trolling for sure. Okay, LaMelo Ball. His next Puma MB04 collab takes us all the way back with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but this one is not for the Gen Z crowd who might be fans of the more modern interpretations of Leonardo, Raphael, Donatello, and Michelangelo. Nah, it's for the old millennials who were down for the heroes in a half shell. It's an interesting choice, honestly, because when you hear that same group react to LaMelo's Puma line, it's met with amazement, bewilderment, and disgust, sometimes in that order, other times not, but maybe it's a nostalgia play for the olds to convince them to buy the sneakers for their kids, but I can't imagine most of them will be buying the sneakers to rock. Also included in the pack is an MB01 featuring Baxter Stockman, an MB03 with Krang, and a mysterious 5th shoe that you can win if you buy the 4 pairs featured. We're doing this before the reveal, so if we had to guess, it's either an MB02 split colorway between Master Splinter and Shredder, or a yellow La France pair for April O'Neil. So J-Tips, his latest with Saucony, has a message for all the loved ones out there who might feel like someone in their life is always out there grinding instead of spending time with them. I love you, but I'm busy. It's the message you've probably heard before, or maybe you're the one who had to say something like that to someone who just wants to hang out with you. It's not clear yet what the theme of the collab is, but it does speak to the sacrifices we all have to make sometimes in order to live the life that we want for ourselves and our families. Hopefully though, the next collab is something like, all right, cool, let's go get some ice cream or whatever it is you like. That probably won't fit nicely on a sneaker, but I would love to see them try. Nike has done us bums a solid and revealed what should have been the actual Tiffany's Air Force One. Hopefully it drops within the next week or so and our significant others won't be able to tell the difference on Valentine's Day. Now, you might think to yourself, Jacques, I think there are obvious differences between these two pairs. No one is actually going to mistake that cheaper version to the, and this is the part where I do my best rock impression and tell you politely that it doesn't matter what you think, and I'm going to stick these $400 Tiffany's up your candy ass. Man, Rock really did have a weird obsession with huh? Anyways, this is a PG show. This becomes a what looks better on an Air Force One, suede or leather discussion, and I gotta say, between the contrast stitching and the way the Tiffany blue, Aurora green looks on the leather pair, this $125 version wins. Of course, now that we've all said this, it's totally possible that there will be massive hype for this and resale for them shoots up to the same levels as the Tiffany pair, but oh well, it's a lesson that these luxury brands have to learn when they team up with athletic brands like Nike and Adidas. You can't just expect people to fawn over your basic collabs or switch things up for the sake of it. Tiffany's should have met the Air Force One where it was, solid black leather and all, and worked their magic from there. Oh, and if you're wondering, like I was, the Tiffany's Air Force One lace dubres that were sold separately are going for $350 to $450 on the resale market. So if you do get a pair of the Aurora green Air Force Ones and buy the Tiffany dubres, you're still coming in nearly $1,000 cheaper than getting the actual Tiffany collabs at resale. So Travis Hunter, he just signed with Adidas recently, but he's already putting in the work for the Three Stripes. Last week, he was at the Minnesota Timberwolves game supporting the top guy of the moment, Anthony Edwards. And then post-game, Hunter got Ant-Man's jersey and Adidas AE1 in the Velocity Blue colorway, proudly declaring he's going to win on the court with these shoes. Never mind that he's nowhere near Edwards' size 14. Guess that's what extra socks are for, right? Anyways, it's a smart play to associate Travis with Edwards as it establishes how highly the brand thinks of the potential #1 overall pick in the upcoming NFL draft. Let's move on to our pick of the week. We have the Nike Pegasus Premium in football gray and total orange. This is going to be on January 30th for $210. And I have high hopes for these, and it's going to be up to Nike to deliver on that promise. First revealed during the Nike's Air event in Paris last year, I got to try these, and they felt unlike any other Air Max shoe I've ever tried on, and I mean that as a compliment. The performance benefits are something that I'm going to need to mess around with a few runs before I can give a final verdict, but as a casual walking sneaker, I say this with zero hesitation. This can be the hit that Nike has been looking for to compete with the Ons and Hokas and Solomons of the world. All right, it's time for this week's Hard Pass. We're going to take a look at something in the culture that just needs to go, like co-writers rant on the Nintendo Switch 2 as narrated by me, Jacques Slade. Wait, this is the Hard Pass, and we are going to do this whole bit, but we need to do a disclaimer before I go any further, okay? So the views of co-writer do not necessarily reflect those of Jacques Slade or Hard Pass or even the real co-writer. Wait, Juan, who wrote this bit? Whatever, I'll just do my best Ron Burgundy and read whatever is on the prompter here in the middle of LAX. So let's do it. So the Nintendo Switch 2 was revealed last week after years of rumor and speculation. The follow-up to the second most successful video game console of all time globally will drop sometime in 2025. Shout out to the PlayStation 2 for actually holding the #1 spot. A Nintendo Direct showcase will take place on April 2nd, along with the Switch 2 experience events all around the world during the spring and summer months. Even though video games don't get as much coverage here on the show, here's hoping a bit like this will actually get us some invites to the LA event. So far, the hype train for the Switch 2 is chugging along, I would say, nicely. According to stats compiled by various aggregators, message boards, and Reddit, the Switch 2 reveal video is outpacing not only the views of the original Switch, but also the combined views of the PS4 and PS5 when they were first revealed. While huge numbers on YouTube and social media are no guarantee the Switch 2 will be a hit, it's a positive sign for Nintendo that their fan base is eating up this slow burn. Like, the leaks for the Switch 2 prior to launch basically gave away almost every detail of the physical appearance of the console. There was no big surprise really, but people still watch the trailer by the millions and are dissecting every frame like it's 2018 and a new Avengers trailer just dropped. Of course, the audience watching this video is more than just the diehards who hate listened video game podcast, hoping for announcements of announcements. Wait, I probably should explain that. See, hours before the Switch 2 trailer dropped, terminally online Nintendo fans were losing their minds because leakers with trustworthy track records were claiming that the announcement was happening on Thursday. However, because Nintendo did not announce on Wednesday that they were announcing something on Thursday, the pitchforks were out for the leakers. That's dedication, I guess, Nintendo fans. We respect it, but also log off every once in a while. Damn. And that's not to say that Nintendo is skating through this reveal though. There is a segment of the video game community that was unsatisfied with the Switch 2. See, the leaks, which turned out to be very accurate, painted a picture of Nintendo playing it safe with the Switch 2. For a company that is known for their outrageous and paradigm-shifting gimmicks that reshape the industry and force players to rethink how to play games, to them, the Switch 2 felt like an incremental upgrade. For a company whose code name with the original Wii was the Nintendo Revolution, this was the furthest thing from that. It doesn't feel like a new Nintendo thing. It feels like a Switch Pro. And funny enough, there have been rumors of a Switch Pro or a Switch 4K since before the pandemic era, and that Nintendo was actually very close to releasing it before changing course. It's totally possible that this Switch 2 is basically a rebranded Switch Pro with beefier specs. Some would argue that's a bad thing, but we kind of disagree. See, we're in an era of diminishing return when it comes to games. What we mean by that is despite games getting bigger, faster, and better looking, the business has never been closer to crashing. Oh, don't mistake this potential crash to be similar to what happened in the 1980s when hundreds of thousands of Atari cartridges were buried in New Mexico landfills. Games aren't going away, but the way they're being made will. New releases are being ignored for games that came out over a decade ago. The meme of "we got blank before GTA 6, that's because people are still playing GTA 5, first released during PS3 and Xbox 360 era. Fortnite, Final Fantasy 14, Roblox, Minecraft, World of Warcraft, Counter-Strike, all of those. Instead of people moving on from one game to get to the next one, we've got millions of people playing 1 or 2 games, instead of letting these creatives actually create what they want and let the chips fall where they fall. They were being forced by their overlords, who are under pressure from their shareholders, to make the big budget long shot games that hopefully keep the arrow of growth pointing sharply up and to the right. And that's the critical part. It should be fine and kind of expected for the arrow to keep going up and to the right. But because the bosses want the arrow to go sharply up and to the right, you get some suit who hasn't touched a controller in decades and has no idea why their kids spend so much money on Roblox, saying things like, hey, why don't you make God of War, a legendary franchise that is known for their deep, engrossing single-player campaigns, and turn it into a live service title? Like, why? Nintendo might screw up every once in a while, but they don't let ideas like that get past the brainstorming phase. Another thing Nintendo doesn't do is chase the trend of graphical fidelity. While it makes for amazing sizzle reels and fancy presentations, Nintendo learned long ago that chasing the best looking dragon was not worth it. For the past few generations now, they've figured out that sure, the games do not compete with whatever the latest is coming from Sony, Xbox, or the PC, but they have them beat in vibes. Games like Tears of the Kingdom, Splatoon 3, Mario Kart 8 are ancient on the technical level in 2025, but their style keeps them relevant even after all these years. And if they run smoothly and better than before on the Switch 2, thanks to backwards compatibility, the shelf life of these games will rival those of your Fortnites and Minecrafts. Nintendo doesn't go out of their way to make forever games because it's the waves. It's always been in their DNA. That doesn't mean we don't have our hopes and expectations, however. The Switch 2 still has a lot to prove to consumers who are not Nintendo freaks and maybe just bought a Switch within the past 24 months. Well, here's a few quick hits of what we're hoping for. 1, fun gimmicks. Just because the Switch 2 looks like the OG Switch doesn't mean it's not going to have some crazy idea or a new way to play. In the video, there's a brief moment where the Joy-Cons are lined up in a way that makes it feel like you're going to be able to use them as a mouse. How that works in practice remains to be seen, but that could be an acknowledgement by Nintendo that games that require the precision of a mouse, like real-time strategy games and intense first-person shooters, could exist on a Nintendo platform in a way like never before. Next up, Nintendo Xbox Game Pass. It's been rumored for a minute that Microsoft and Nintendo have been working on this wild collab, bringing Xbox game subscription service to another console. Because neither looks at each other as competition, this could be the reality on the Switch 2. We've already seen games that were once believed to be Xbox exclusives show up on the Switch 1. Game Pass would be the next step in the wildest partnership since Sonic's first popped up on the GameCube in the early 2000s. Next up, better online functionality. Because of Nintendo's conservative views on online gaming, and when you look at the filth and slop out there, it's hard to blame them. They are always going to be behind every other platform when it comes to chatting, streaming, and sharing content. But a lot of hopes are riding on that mysterious C button on the right Joy-Con, and that it will allow for easy access to chat with other gamers online. Well, we'll see how that goes, I guess. Elden Ring. But Jacques, Elden Ring is so 2022. Yeah, that doesn't matter anymore. It used to, no doubt. But if there's an announcement that Elden Ring and other blockbuster games from the past several years that would never run on an OG Switch can now do so on the Switch 2, that's going to be a boon for Nintendo. The same way kids discover music from the 80s thanks to whatever TikTok is hot, they will discover games 6 or 7 years from now for the first time thanks to the Switch 2. And then the Wind Waker port. Depending on how you see things, Nintendo either really loves their history and hates the burden that goes along with having said history. Fans are constantly clamoring for their classics to always be available, and while Nintendo certainly has no problem taking our money, they would prefer that you buy the next thing. And that's what leads to a long-rumored, already completed port of the iconic Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker, being stuck in the chamber for years now. Nintendo wants us buying Breath of the Wild at the launch of the Switch and Tears of the Kingdom now. Bringing back Wind Waker at the wrong time might cannibalize those sales is what they're probably thinking. What we're saying is, nah, forget that and just give us what we want, damn it. Anyways, this rant was brought to you by co-writer. I hope it makes sense. And speaking of co-writer, who we can no longer tell if he's real or just a figment of our collective imaginations, we're neck deep in the hard pass sauce here, man. That's what happens when you've been doing it for a while now. Are we working ourselves into a shoot? Did I even know what a shoot was before this show? Anyways, like the tagline says, it's a sneaker show, kinda. And we're live from LAX with people watching. All right, that's gonna do it for the show. Thank you guys for watching this very weird episode of Hard Pass live from LAX, and I still have like 2 hours before my flight. Anyway, if you'd like to possibly be featured in a future episode, call us at 818-493-9325. Leave a short message, your socials if you want, no more than 30 seconds. All right, I'll see you guys next week. Peace.